New York Giants fans, Brian Daboll is gone. Joe Shane is still here. So is Shane Bowen. Jaxson Dart's in concussion protocol. All I know is there's a game coming versus the Packers, and how are you going to try to win it? The question we have is this team trying to win games? Or are they in full tank mode? Because if they're trying to win games, there's no way you can put Russell Wilson back out there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jameis Winston time. I am Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons. New York Giants on SI. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information. Make sure you go out there, check that out. Check out everything we're going over there. I just dropped my 3 plays that essentially doomed the Giants and took away the victory. I also put up the stats that matter, like 3 stats that I think tilted the balance of the game for the Giants in week 10, but we're on to week 11, and we have to start thinking in terms of what's this team trying to do in the immediate future, right? Is this team trying to tank? Is this team trying to lose and give themselves a draft pick that they will either be able to flip because somebody is desperate to go up and get a quarterback, or where they will take a best player available, which could be an offensive lineman, it could be a defensive back, it could be another wide receiver, right? I think that if right now I sat here and said that the New York Giants ended up with a top 3 pick, they probably would need to trade that pick, right? Because like, what's the value in a defensive back with a top 3 pick? What's the value in getting another wide receiver that high when you just picked a wide receiver high? That feels a lot like the Lions and what the Lions were doing back when they were really, really bad. If you pick an offensive lineman, where is he going and who is he taking the place of? You have an entrenched right tackle in Jermaine Illuminor, unless you decided to move on from him. You obviously have an entrenched left tackle, and there's no guards that's worth being taken with a top 3 pick. So everything, you have edge rushers, right? You're not taking a Mike linebacker with a top 3 pick. Everything points to trading down if you want to maximize that pick. But if you're trying to win, if you're saying to yourself, hey, listen, we were 2-8, and we really and truly believe that the reason that we were in 2-8 was because the head football coach that we just fired was not doing the things necessary for us to be successful, then you have to ask yourself, what's the best plan of action? Number 1, the best plan of action is, if Jaxson Dart is in the concussion protocol and he is your quarterback of the future, there's no reason to rush him back. Let's shut him down for week 11. Even if he's good, let's make him the emergency quarterback for week 11. Now you got to ask yourself, who do you feel most comfortable with going out there and performing? Do you want to see Russell Wilson? You've seen what Russell Wilson has done when he's come into the games since he's lost his job as the head coach. Hell, outside of the Cowboys game, you've seen what Russell Wilson has done in all of those times. You have to ask yourself, is that what I want to see? Does that give us the best opportunity to be successful? And if you're being honest with yourself, right? If you're being honest with yourself, the answer is no. That Russell Wilson does not give you the best opportunity to win. Player management. It's another reason why I do. And again, I want people to understand, because yesterday I came out and I was very defensive of Brian Daboll, because I really do think he's a really good coach. But again, part of being a head coach is roster management, like managing the roster that's been given to you by the GM. And I still contend there was the opportunity to have an open competition, even if that open competition was for Jaxson Dart to sit to start the season. And that open competition between Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson would have allowed Jameis Winston to blow the doors off Russell Wilson, because honestly, he's always been more talented than Russell Wilson. His issues have been more like in trying to do too much. All of his interceptions in the times where he's had multi-interception games, they didn't come because he was incompetent. They came because he had too much confidence in what he can do. He had too much confidence in his arm. He had too much confidence in his ability to will a team back from being down. He was not like a what am I thinking of? A guy who, if they're losing, it feels like he just kind of melds it in, or doesn't want to make his stats look. Aaron Rodgers, he's not an Aaron Rodgers-esque kind of guy where if Aaron Rodgers doesn't feel like the game has an opportunity to tilt back to him, he'll get super conservative with the football. It's always been him. Go and look back, right? But if he thinks it's within reach or within, he'll keep fighting. It's a calculated thing. And Jameis Winston doesn't have that calculation. He doesn't have that, I'm going to just accept the fate. He's always going to try to keep fighting and fighting and fighting to bring the team back, a lot of times to his detriment. I think it's interesting, right, that with Cleveland, Joe Flacco was celebrated for his touchdowns and his interceptions were overlooked. And then with that same Cleveland Browns team, with that same coaching staff, Jameis Winston's touchdowns were not celebrated. His interceptions were not overlooked. And they eventually went another way within the season. But his interceptions only really his big interception numbers really came in one game where he turned it over a ton. The other games were not like that. So do I think that Russell Wilson gives this team the best opportunity to win? No, I don't. I think if it was fair, Jameis Winston would have started this season. I came on this podcast on numerous occasions throughout the summer and told you how I felt like this needed to be an open competition. And if it was, that Jameis Winston would beat Russell Wilson and Jaxson Dart in an open competition. I still feel that way. And so now with Jaxson Dart, who should be down for week 11, again, if you think you found the guy, if he's the star, why rush him back in a 2-8 season? Why rush him back? Allow him to take that extra week to make sure that his eggs not scrambled, right? That his eggs sunny side up. And so I would definitely put him down. And if I'm putting him down for the week, why not let's roll out this Jameis Winston experiment. A couple underrated things about Jameis Winston before I get to the main things. Number one, Jameis Winston is super tough. Jameis Winston might be one of the toughest quarterbacks in all of the NFL. Jameis Winston was playing through stuff in New Orleans, right? He was playing through stuff in New Orleans. He was playing through stuff in Tampa Bay that would have set a lot of quarterbacks down. Always been tough, always been fearless, right? Not everybody has that toughness. Not everybody has that fearlessness. Jameis Winston's going to stare down the eye of the storm. You're going to be bearing down on him to come hit him. He's going to sit right in there, staring, and throw the ball where it needs to get to because he believes that's going to be a touchdown pass or a first down pass, right? He's willing to do that. It's an underrated thing about his game. People don't talk about it enough because a lot of times people don't know, but it's an underrated part of his game. Another underrated portion of his game is his ability to run. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going to say, oh, he can't run well. he's not fast. He doesn't make people miss. Well, go back and watch him run. It doesn't have to look pretty for it to be effective, right? And I think that's the problem is when you see a guy like Jameis Winston run, you say he can't run because it doesn't look cute. It doesn't look pretty, right? But it's effective. You know what else Jameis Winston is that nobody else on this roster is? As far as a quarterback, he is 6'4" and 230 pounds. He's a big, athletic quarterback. So when he runs, it's a little bit different lead in the pencil than when Jaxson Dart runs, right? It's a little bit more giddy up in his hitch than when Russell Wilson runs, who, when he was trying to run and escape, watch. Now, there was a goal line play where Russell Wilson tried to tuck it and run it, and everybody made fun of Russell Wilson for it, but it was the absolute most trash effort I've seen from offensive linemen in my entire life. They literally, two guys were guarding one guy. They both were or blocking one guy, and they both were just standing there. And the defensive tackle lulled them to sleep by stopping, and instead of them running his butt out of there, they just stood there flat-footed. Then he threw one out of the way and tackled Russell Wilson. That's not on Russell Wilson. That's on those guys. I believe that was Jermaine Illuminor and Greg Van Roten. I could be wrong, but I'm probably not. I could be wrong, but I'm probably not. Jermaine Illuminor and Greg Van Roten stood there and watched and was taking pictures and was not attached. That could have been a touchdown right there, but it wasn't because those two guys didn't bother to do their darn job. People out here want to give Jermaine Illuminor some big contract extension. Y'all crazy. Like, I digress. But so, like, we're at this point now where Jameis Winston has the toughness, he has the fearlessness, he's more athletic than you think. He's big, so he can take a little bit more of the hits. And now let's get into the things that he does, and that, quite frankly, he probably does better than everyone else. He's got the livest arm on the team, ladies and gentlemen. It's usually been that way. If there's anywhere you put Jameis Winston in a quarterback room, you're probably looking at the guy with the livest arm. He had the livest arm in training camp. Every time I watched him in training camp, every time I talked to people who were at training camps that I wasn't at, they all talked about it. That Jameis Winston ball just got more juice on it. We saw it in preseason. Every time Jameis Winston got in there, it was pow, 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 pow. Right? It was fireworks. Every time he got in there, he was shooting up the club. Boom, 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 pellets. Jameis Winston is accurate. More accurate than people give him credit for. And why? They don't give him credit for accuracy because he's thrown a lot of interceptions in the past. But they don't keep in mind that his interceptions have come when he was trying to do too much. Jameis Winston has a very unique understanding of when to throw the ball high to tall wide receivers, when to throw the ball low to short wide receivers, to give them the best opportunity to catch the pass. That is a part of accuracy. But then he also just has the arm strength to put it into a little circle where only he can put it. All these things, equate. So when you have the arm talent, right? You have the arm talent, you have the touch, you have the mental acuity, right? All of those things matter. And the one thing that Jameis Winston has that maybe others have is he has an unwavering, undying, like relentless belief in himself to be great at whatever it is he does. I need to see that on the field if you're trying to win games. Don't put Jameis Winston out there if you're trying to tank. Don't put Jameis Winston out there if you're trying to tank. Jameis Winston will hurt your feelings if you're trying to purposely lose games and you put him out there, because you're going to put him out there thinking, oh, yeah, we're going to lose games. And then he's going to go out there and he's going to beat a team you have no business beating. He's done it everywhere he's been. He did it with the Bucs back when they were spending no money, right? When they were spending no money, when they weren't getting him any help on the offensive line, where it was just him and Mike Evans and some dudes, right? He was doing it then. He did it in New Orleans when there were no weapons other than the running back. There was no consistency anywhere, where there was questions in whether or not the coaching staff, some people who wanted him out there, some people who didn't. He was beating teams he had no business beating. He did it in Cleveland, beating teams he had no business beating. And he'll do it in New York. You can guarantee it. So don't put him out there if you're not planning on him trying to win. Like, put Russell Wilson out there, because Russell Wilson's the company man. He knows what time it is. Hey, yo, they're putting me out here. They're trying to lose games. Let me help them. Like, I don't care if it's a diss. I don't care if it's a diss. Russell Wilson is a company man. Right? Russell Wilson is a company man. And as a company man, he usually sides with the company. That's why he took that demotion in stride, where most people would have been really upset that they were only given a couple of games after being told they were going to be able to rock for the season. Right? He took it without any type of pushback, because he's a company man. Right? And I guess to a certain extent, Jameis Winston knows his role. That's different than being a company man. He understands that he's here to mentor and help Jaxson Dart. But if we're being honest about it, he's the best handcuff for Jaxson Dart. Because what Jaxson Dart likes to do with the football, the way that Jaxson Dart likes to play, is essentially the same way that Jameis Winston likes to play. He wants to take chances. He wants to move around to improve, to find something down the field to throw to. He will run. He will be tough with the running from time to time. Now he's gotten wiser as he's gotten older, but he's only 31 years old, and because he's been kind of kicking around as a backup for the last few years, he doesn't have 31 years of wear and tear on his body. He's still spry. Like, he's still hip. He's still with it. I'm a guy that wants to see Jameis Winston out there because I enjoy watching him play football, even in that stank number 19 they got him wearing out there. That's crazy. Like, I still like watching him play football. I still like watching him get it done. I don't like watching Russell Wilson. It's not an enjoyable watch. Even when it's effective, it's not very enjoyable. Hear me again. Even when Russell Wilson is effective, it's not enjoyable. So here's how it would go. You're playing in the game. Russell Wilson runs out on the field. His own fans are going to boo him. His own fans are going to boo him because none of them want him out there. Now, how does that work with the psyche of the quarterback and the people who are playing with the quarterback? If the moment they take the field, the fans start booing. It's bad enough you got Mike Kafka as your head coach. Your head coach / offensive coordinator. It's bad enough you got Kafka as your head coach coordinator. But then you're going to compound it by having Russell Wilson out there, who's not the favorite of the fans right now. Because they want Jaxson Dart out there. But you know who else they would enjoy watching? Jameis Winston. Again, Winston is not the guy you put out there if you're looking to put somebody out there just to lose. That's not what he's going to be about. So I want to see it. I think it's the best thing for Dart. I think it's the best thing for Wilson. I think it's the best thing for the team if they're trying to win. And I think we'll know a lot if they decide to go with Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback. To me, that will say we're not trying to win. Sorry. Couple other quick hitters. I wanna get back to the discussion that's being had about Jaxson Dart and the offense or the coaching staff running Jaxson Dart too much, right? Because I still contend that's a really terrible narrative. It's a horrible narrative, and it's a horrible thing to put on someone. First off, it's counterintuitive for Brian Daboll to risk, quote unquote, Jaxson Dart's health to save his job. There's a pretty good chance his job was gone regardless because they started the season 2-7, right? So the idea that, oh, well, he was putting Jaxson Dart in jeopardy is laughable. And quite honestly, it's just like, it's unfair. Jaxson Dart in that game ran the ball 6 times. 4 of them were designed runs. 2 of them were touchdowns. 1 was a first down run on the power. The second one was a power play that was going to go for another first down, another 10 plus yards, but he fumbled. I heard people talking about, they're running him too much. Did you know that in the first 3 games of Jaxson Dart's career, first 3 games he played, he ran the ball 30 times. 30 times. It's an average of 10 per game. But again, as I've said, his legs have been his best attribute so far, right, in the league. So yeah, over the next 4 games, they did not run him 30 times. Again, I'm going to say it. Over the next 4 games, they ran him 25 times. Now, he might have the most designed runs of any quarterback in the league, right? That could be true because they are designing runs for him. But they're all successful runs. They're all positive runs. He was averaging 11 yards an attempt in the game where he was injured. Who's not running the guy 6 times when you're getting 11 yards per? His touchdown run, one of them, was a double-digit touchdown run. It was a designed run that went for double digits. So this idea that they're running him like recklessly is just stupid. What was happening is that Jaxson Dart was running reckless. He was his own worst enemy. He was the one who was trying to ram people head first. We have video of him diving head first at defenders. It was only a matter of time. This would not have just happened on designed runs. And not for nothing, after he went out, people or today and yesterday after the game, people were saying, or excuse me, Sunday after the game, people were saying, oh, well, they really like bumbled his concussion. How? The coaching staff clearly didn't see him get injured or concussed on the field. He came back. He played 2 plays. Neither of them were running plays for him. They got him out and assessed him and then put the backup in, and he never came back in the game. To me, isn't that how it's supposed to work? Hey, the coaching staff didn't see it. Somebody saw something. Someone was able to identify it before there was further harm done. They were able to get him out and get him diagnosed and put him into the protocol. I heard people saying, "Oh, well, he's been examined for a concussion 4 times." Anytime a player hits his head, they're going to examine him for a concussion. Anytime a player hits his head, jumps up and does this, like shakes his head, they're going to examine him for a concussion. That does not mean he's had 4 concussions. It means that they examined him 4 times to see if he might have a concussion. Ladies and gentlemen, the protocols that are in place are working. Why are y'all mad at the coaching staff as if they're doing something nefarious? This was Brian Daboll's guy. This was Brian Daboll's guy. This was his guy, his handpicked guy. We have it recorded. Hey, we're going with the guy that you want. That's what Joe Schoen said. By the way, Brian Daboll should have known Joe Schoen was not on his side the way in which Joe Schoen has conducted business since being in the seat. He should have known that if things got squirrely, Joe Schoen was going to jump ship on him. And now we're left with Joe Schoen while Brian Daboll is gone. We're left with Bowen, Shane Bowen, while Brian Daboll is gone. I said this before. I tweeted it yesterday, and I'll say it right here. Brian Daboll's own ego got him fired. Brian Daboll should have went into a dark room with Wink Martindale, hashed out their differences. They should have came out, went to the bar, had a couple beers, and essentially reconfirmed the relationship. And they should have kept going on. If that happens, Brian Daboll still has a job today. Instead, he let his ego get in the way. They parted ways in a market where no good defensive coordinators were on the horizon, and you don't know enough to go and get somebody that's an up-and-coming guy to give a chance. So they went and retraded Shane Bowen, who they brought in to stop the run. But the only reason the run defense was good in Tennessee while he was the defensive coordinator was because their pass defense was so awful, people just passed all over him. That's the guy you went and brought in and went from an attack style, blitzing type of defense to we're going to get it done with the front 4 and playing bend but don't break behind them. But his scheme is nowhere as good as Patrick Graham's scheme was. Right? His scheme was nowhere as good as Patrick Graham's scheme. So you didn't have that same success. And now, because Shane Bowen was so bad at his job, Brian Daboll had to fall on the sword for what his defensive coordinator was unable to do. That's why he lost his job. In a nutshell. That's how it goes, though. When you make the wrong choice as the head coach, you have to fall on the sword for the choices. You're the figurehead. You're the person that everybody sees. So when the GM makes the wrong choices, you got to fall on the sword for the GM. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have today. New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information. Make sure you go and check that out over there. See everything that we're doing, all of that stuff. Make sure you come over here, subscribe to the channel, New York Giants on SIA. The subs have been getting lower and lower and lower. Subscribe to this channel, man. We're trying to grow this thing, right? I know I'm what's over here, and you haven't been getting consistency from me, but hey, it's 2 days in a row, so you're getting some consistency right now. We're back because there's going to be a lot of things to talk about over the next 6 months, right? It's just starting earlier than usual. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.